Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Rick Steves Europe Festival of Tours. My name is Gabe Gunning, and I have the privilege of serving as your moderator this evening as we adventure to one of my favorite corners of Europe, the British Isles, and discover the tour itineraries that we offer there. Before we set off on that journey, though, I have a few opening announcements for you. First, I'm going to remind you that this is just the third night out of our 9-night Festival of Tours. So you can find past shows posted on the Festival of Tours webpage, and you can sign up for those upcoming shows. We hope that you'll join us to explore some other regions of Europe. You have an opportunity to go to Europe yourself on a Rick Steves Europe tour for free if you are the winner of our city tour giveaway. We're going to be giving away 2 individual city tours to London, Paris, Rome, or Istanbul. You can join that by submitting a form through you'll see a contest form in the chat widget, and you can complete that. Unfortunately, due to local laws beyond our control, our friends in Canada, Florida, New York, Puerto Rico, and Rhode Island are not able to enter, but the rest of you are, and we hope that you will. And then tune into the show on May 2nd. That'll be our finale where we announce the winners. Even if you don't win one of the giveaway tours, everybody can get $100 off a tour because we have just released our 2026 tours, and we have our early booking discount, which is $100 off, valid through the end of July, the day July 7th. And that will be automatically applied at checkout. And if you can't wait until 2026, I have some good news. We still have 2025 tours that are on sale. I've also linked to those in the chat widget for you. Now, we have 46 great itineraries spanning all across Europe, but tonight we are going to be focusing on our tours in Great Britain and Ireland. And as we hone in on those, to help us with that honing, I would like to welcome on 2 great Rick Steves Europe guides, one of whom is one of our office staffers that has also been a guide for over 20 years, and a Great Britain native. We have Lisa Friend, and we have Charlie Rawson. Lisa and Charlie, welcome, welcome, and thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you so much for having us.
And I'm wondering, have you 2 already kicked off your tour season?
I have not kicked off my tour season yet. I am headed to Rome in about 10 days to lead a Heart of Italy tour and then a Best of Europe tour. And I'm very excited because, as we all know, we lost our beloved Pope a few days ago. But when I get to Rome, it will be right in the middle of the conclave. So I will be there in case any of the cardinals need any advice. But I'm just really excited to be there during this historic time.
And I have actually just finished my first Heart of Scotland tour. I got back on Sunday. It was an incredible week away with the tour members. We had a fantastic time. And a couple of folks were a bit apprehensive in advance of coming with regards to perhaps how Americans were being received in Europe. But there was a big welcome with open arms here. And equally, I've just been over in Portugal and Spain walking the Camino de Santiago. I met Americans traveling there as well, and they were also welcomed with open arms. So it's a great time to be traveling at the moment. The weather in Scotland was also really good for the springtime. It only rained when we were in the hotel at night and when we were in the coach in the day. Perfect.
That's some good tour guiding, Charlie, to get it to only rain when they're inside.
Magic.
Well done.
Well, I am very eager. I would love to join one of our Britain or Ireland tours soon. So I'm interested to see which one I come out of this presentation most excited about. So I'm going to turn things over to you 2, and I will see you in the Q&A at the end.
Thanks, Gabe. So I'm going to get us started with just a little bit of housekeeping. So one of the things that we like to do at Rick Steves is we have a show called Tours 101, which is an hour-long live show with a tour staffer and a tour guide talking about what is life like on a Rick Steves tour. We've had many of you comment in the past that you want to know what life is like on a tour. So please watch that. We did one just last night. I did it with my friend Robin Stencil, and that will be up on our website probably by tomorrow. If you want to join it live, then our next one is going to be on May 8th. And just to give you a very quick recap on what a Rick Steves tour is like, we have a really strong tradition and ethos of several things that make our tours unique. One of them is small groups. So our maximum group size is 24 to 28 people. We focus on local experiences. We focus on packing light and right. So you can see these lovely people here are packing with their carry-on size bag and a day bag. And that's what we limit you to, because we want you to be able to cheerfully and comfortably carry your luggage up the stairs a flight or two at your guest house. We do plenty of walking. They're very active tours. We don't drive by things. We get off, boots on the ground, seeing things. So that's really important. And we have always guides with us. So you have your Rick Steves guide like me or Charlie. And then we also have local experts. So here's my friend Adam talking about the royal family in front of the Palace of St. James in London. And what's really important to us is we stay in small, centrally located, comfortable, clean hotels. So these are not going to be necessarily fancy places, but they're going to have a charm, a unique character that's important to us, but really centrally located. So when you walk outside your hotel or guest house in the morning, you're going to be right there. And since we are speaking tonight about Ireland and Great Britain, I will say that probably 95% of all of the hotel rooms are going to have a tea kettle and maybe a little shortbread in it, which I think is very civilized. You're not going to see that on a tour in Italy, but you will see it in here because it's part of their culture. So that is really important to me. So we're going to be talking about these 5 wonderful places. So we're talking about the Republic of Ireland tonight. You can tell by my green sweater that I'm very pro-Irish. We're going to be talking about Wales, the tiny little country that is probably does not get enough love from us on our tours, but is well worth going to. We're going to talk about England, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. And we're going to be talking about 7 itineraries tonight. So we have the heart of Ireland, we have the best of Ireland, we have the heart of Scotland, the best of Scotland, we have the best of England with a few nights in Wales, and the best of South England, and even a 1-week tour of London, which I personally have now been on as a tour member 3 times. So we're definitely going to visit that tonight. But now I'm going to hand it over to our friend Charlie, and she's going to talk to us about what makes these destinations so delightful.
Fantastic. Lisa, thank you so much. So it is a joy to be with you this evening, and to kick off this sizzle reel, let's dive into some outstanding historic architecture. Perched high atop the volcanic outcrop, this is Castle Rock. And on the top is Edinburgh Castle, Scotland's most iconic fortress. With over 1,000 years of history, it also offers stunning urban views, and the 1 o'clock gun salute keeps the city firmly on time. Next up is Glasgow Cathedral, a brilliant example of medieval Gothic architecture, and has been standing since the 12th century, although the Victorians did have a go at improving it. Its blackened exterior tells of when Glasgow was a polluted industrial powerhouse. It is Scotland's only mainland cathedral that survived the Reformation intact, and Glasgow's oldest building, so it's rich with history and the legacy of St Mungo. Moving on to one of Scotland's grandest castles, it is also positioned atop a volcanic crag, and this has got sweeping views of the Highlands as well. We're looking at Stirling Castle. It was the residence of kings and queens, including Mary, Queen of Scots. It was the heart of royal power until 1603 and brings together Renaissance elegance with formidable medieval design. So during the Scottish Wars of Independence, it was said that if you held the keys to Stirling Castle, you held the keys to Scotland. Now, a hugely contrasting sight from here takes us to Urquhart Castle on the shores of Loch Ness. It's a dramatic ruin steeped in legend. Once a strategic stronghold, it played a key role in the Wars of Independence as well, held by Robert I, or otherwise known as Robert the Bruce. So you may know that name, and that was in 1306. It offers one of the best views for spotting Nessie, so make sure you bring your monster spotting goggles with you on this day. Our next stop is Cawdor Castle, which features medieval towers alongside later Scottish baronial additions. Found in the Scottish Highlands, it also has ties to Shakespeare's Macbeth. Surrounded by lush gardens and ancient woodlands, it blends history, legend, and lived-in charm, as it's still inhabited as a home through the winter. And if you love the colours of these gardens, then you'll love the colours of Victoria Street in Edinburgh as well. Our next stop, a vibrant, curving, cobbled road lined with colourful shops and cafes and lots of historic charm. Often said to have inspired Diagon Alley, it's a must-visit stop for our Harry Potter fans and blends old-world architecture with modern flair. Now, leaving Scotland and heading to the Republic of Ireland, Dublin Castle stands at the heart of Ireland's capital, with origins dating back to the 13th century. Once the seat of British rule in Ireland, it has evolved into a symbol of Irish heritage and government. Today, it showcases stunning state apartments, medieval remnants, and centuries of political history. Next, travelling back across to England, and we're in the heart of Bath, where we find Bath Abbey and the Roman baths sitting side by side. They blend spiritual beauty with ancient history. The Abbey, with its stunning Gothic architecture, rises above the city, containing the most spectacular fan-vaulted ceiling in the country, while the Roman baths below reveal Britain's Roman past, offering a unique glimpse into centuries of worship, culture, and tradition. So staying in Bath a moment, let's just appreciate the layering of history here. This is the Royal Crescent, and it's an iconic row of 30 Georgian townhouses, an example of the fashionable spa town it had become, built in the 18th century. It's a masterpiece of design and a symbol of Bath's elegant charm. But it's so important to remember that Bath's prosperity was mostly funded by fortunes tied to the colonial enterprises and the transatlantic slave trade. So today we can appreciate the beauty, but we are equally aware of its origins. Next up, Conwy Castle in North Wales, a masterpiece of medieval military architecture, towers over the rugged North Wales coast. Built by Edward I in the 13th century, one of the 5 of Edward I's castles along this coastline. Its massive walls and 8 imposing towers still impress today, a powerful symbol of conquest and overpowering strength. So leaving Wales, we head northeast towards York, one of England's oldest cities, tracing its origins to Roman times. Over the centuries, it grew into a thriving Viking and medieval hub. The Shambles, this narrow cobbled street, dates back to the 14th century. This is lived-in history you can touch. So to close off our architectural section, we head to Windsor Castle, the oldest and largest inhabited castle in the world. And it has been the royal residence of British monarchs for over 1,000 years. The king is in residence 2 days a week, so look out for his royal standard flying from the tower. It is a site rich in royal history and ceremonial tradition. So from one modern day king to one from stories of old. Tintagel is located on Cornwall's dramatic coastline and is steeped in Arthurian legend, believed to be the birthplace of King Arthur. This is his statue here. The castle ruins are perched on a cliff just off to the left-hand side of this image, and the whole place evokes tales of knights and magic and mystery. Recent archaeological digs continue to add to our understanding of this magical place. Glastonbury is our next stop and is also famously linked to King Arthur and the Holy Grail. The towering Glastonbury Tor is believed to be Avalon, where Arthur was taken after his final battle. Nearby, Glastonbury Abbey, once one of England's most powerful monasteries, is said to be the final resting place of King Arthur and his queen Guinevere, adding to the town's rich mythological and historical allure. So staying in Somerset, we meet Sulis Minerva, the Celtic Roman goddess, who was worshipped at the Roman baths in Bath, where a temple was dedicated to her. The well-preserved baths built around natural hot springs attracted visitors seeking both healing and fortune, combining Roman architecture with ancient spiritual practices. If ancient spiritual practices interest you, let us head to the Lake District National Park. And it's just a walk away from Keswick. We find ourselves at Castle Rig Stone Circle. This is made up of 38 large stones, with the entrance lining up with the sunset on the shortest day of the year. This Neolithic monument is over 4,000 years old and is believed to have been used for rituals and marking seasonal changes. You must be here at sunset. It is absolutely stunning. So connecting our Celtic cultures, we head to Palnabrone Dolmen in County Clare, Ireland. It is an ancient site that offers a glimpse into prehistoric practices and beliefs. One of 60 dolmens in the area and dating back around 5,800 years, this portal tomb with its massive stone slabs was likely used for ceremonial burials, reflecting the deep connection early communities had with the land and their understanding of the world. And if that stonework isn't old enough for you, we now visit Giant's Causeway, which was Northern Ireland's first UNESCO World Heritage Site. There are over 40,000 basalt columns formed 60 million years ago. Artists and scientists alike are blown away by this natural wonder that tells the story of how the earth was formed, or perhaps tells of how a giant escaped back over a bridge to Scotland. Now, we also head to Scotland ourselves for a couple of Scottish stories of old and a different type of towering column. John Knox's statue at Glasgow's Acropolis stands as a reminder of his influential role in the 16th century. He fiercely opposed Catholicism and played a major role in establishing Presbyterianism in Scotland. His staunch views brought him in direct conflict with Mary Queen of Scots, and the people of Glasgow still consider him to be looking over them to this day. Our final story of old brings us to the Battle of Culloden, which took place in 1746, led by Bonnie Prince Charlie, or Prince Charles Edward Stuart, and it marked the end of the Jacobite uprising. The crushing defeat not only destroyed hopes of a Stuart restoration, but led to the destruction of Highland culture. Following the battle, the British Crown imposed harsh laws that banned traditional Highland dress, the clan system, and the Gaelic language in many settings, forever altering the region's way of life, a legacy that really still echoes through the Highlands to this day. So let us shift our attention now to lively entertainment that you'll be finding in these regions. And folk music is another way that we retell our stories of old. A great place to find this is in our pubs. Here we are in Dublin. Many pubs host live music sessions featuring traditional Irish folk tunes, and it creates a lively, welcoming atmosphere that celebrates Ireland's rich musical and storytelling heritage. Dingle in Ireland also offers friendly and intimate live music experiences in our next slide, where tour members can enjoy traditional Irish folk tunes up close and personal. The town's vibrant music scene often features the local musicians and creates a space for connecting with locals. This is both an experience available as a free time discovery and a group activity integrated into the flow of the tour. In fact, here we have the superb Donna Hennessy. He is wonderful. Our next slide, heading to the capital of the Scottish Highlands, Inverness. It boasts a buzzing live music scene, offering everything from traditional Scottish folk to contemporary tunes and DJs. Here, the group are enjoying a private performance from Bruce McGregor, playing fiddle and telling us stories. On the Southern England Rick Steves tour, you'll encounter the rich folk music heritage of the Southwest region, with many tunes and traditional songs echoing the spirit and working traditions of the Cornish coast. Local musicians offer an authentic retelling of Cornwall's vibrant cultural character. Music weaves these Celtic communities together. Next up, we are heading back to Scotland for a change of pace and some outdoor entertainment. At Rothiemurchus Falconry in the Cairngorms National Park, visitors and tour members can engage with a variety of birds of prey. Under the guidance of Johnny, the expert falconer, tour members have the opportunity to learn about the ancient art of falconry in a stunning setting, and we get to appreciate the complexities of environmental management, rewilding, and species reintroduction. For a sporting activity, may I suggest lawn bowls to all of you? Clubs across the region host open events, providing equipment and guidance for beginners. So this is a great activity to look for your free time. These open nights are a super way to meet locals, and coincidentally, the Bowls Club is always the cheapest place to buy a pint in town. Our final sporting activity is located at the Himalayas Putting Green and Course in St Andrews, and it offers a really unique golfing experience on one of the world's oldest putting greens, established in 1867. It features undulating and, may I say, very challenging terrain, reminiscent of the Himalayas, which provides both a fun competition and a deep connection to golfing history. Visitors can enjoy a 9-hole course for just £4, making it a really affordable and memorable way to engage with Scotland's sporting heritage and equally impress all of your golfing friends back home. Crikey, all that activity has made me quite hungry. So let's talk about food and drink. In Cornwall and Devon, a long-standing debate rages over whether jam or cream should go on first to your scone or scone, depending on how you say it. So in Devon, they put clotted cream on first and then jam, or what you would call jelly, while in Cornwall, you would put jam on first and then your cream. Now, both styles are delicious, but this playful rivalry is a tasty part of the region's rich food culture. Now, I'm not from either of those regions, so to keep everyone happy, I suggest you put jam on first, then cream, and then more jam. Yummy, absolutely love it. But if you would like to eat your cream tea the royal way, our late queen used to put her jam on first. So I'll let you decide which you prefer. Now, traditionally, a fish supper would have been eaten on a Friday, and it is a beloved classic, enjoyed by locals and visitors alike. Fresh, flaky fish, typically maybe cod or haddock, so it's battered and fried to perfection, served with crispy golden chips, and here we also have garden peas. But I recommend you must try mushy peas at least once. It's a hearty, satisfying meal that's perfect by the coast or in a bustling city pub. Now, since fish was Friday supper, many folks these days have curry on a Saturday night. Curry has become a staple of British cuisine, reflecting the UK's rich multicultural history. Introduced during the colonial era and popularised through Indian and Pakistani communities, as a pescatarian, my favourite is sag paneer, which is spinach and paneer cheese, as well as this yellow dish here is tarka dal, which is a lovely lentil dish. So curry restaurants are often a great place for gluten-free and vegan travellers to eat. And if we're still hungry by the time we get to Sunday at the weekend, we must have a Sunday roast dinner. It is a traditional family meal, featuring a roast meat like beef, chicken or lamb, and served with crispy roast potatoes, seasonal vegetables and gravy, of course. Veggie options are available too. A key component is the Yorkshire pudding. It's made by mixing flour, eggs and milk into a batter, then baking it in hot oil until it gets all puffed and golden. It is perfect for soaking up your gravy and filling up hungry bellies of poorer families in times gone. Now, let's have a wee look. Oh, I can hear quite a few of you demanding seafood because we, of course, are on islands here. Well, the Green Shack is a family-run business that has been delivering incredibly fresh seafood at accessible prices on the harbour side of Scotland's seafood capital in Oban for years. Crab sandwiches, scallops, mussels, you name it. Just look at how happy my tour members are with their catch. Now, I believe Lisa's favourite seafood restaurant in the world, nonetheless, is a delightful plate of seafood from Dingle's Into the Blue. This is a great example of seeking out delicious food in your free time whilst on tour or travelling independently. It is located on the harbour and really is a must-visit restaurant for those of you who love top quality seafood. So whilst on tour, in our next slide, we're just going to show that we have a fabulous variety of meals that get featured, including all of your breakfasts, some of your lunches. But these images here, you're looking at a couple of dishes from our final night dinners. So dining together gives us time to reflect on the adventures that we've shared and discuss our future travel plans as well, raising a glass to inspiring travel dreams. Hang on, as we're raising a glass, we better have something in it. Here we have Lisa. She's going to be behind the bar serving a Guinness. Oh, Lisa, you and I would make a great team because I was actually born in a pub. So I think this could be a future adventure for us. And in the next slide, in fact, there is a wee dram of whiskey from the Dewars of Aberfeldy distillery. But there are plenty of other liquid refreshments on tour, including gin and cider, iron brew, which I've got here, which is our second national drink in Scotland. It's a soda that outsells Coca-Cola and Pepsi. I'll bring that one back up so you get a little close-up view. Iron brew. We've also got ale, our outstandingly good tap water, and of course, there's always a good cup of tea, as Lisa was saying, available in your hotel rooms nonetheless. So now we've had, yes.
Charlie, I love you. I just realized you said Divya's name, and Divya went on the Ireland tour last year, as I do quite often. But Divya said, you know what you really love to do in Ireland, and we didn't talk about this, but I thought you put a little bit of Bailey's on your oatmeal in the morning. And I thought, my God, what a smart, smart idea. So I just wanted to bring that in and mention it. And then because I'm having a glass of Portuguese red on your behalf because you were just on the Camino on her belated honeymoon, friends out there in the audience. So I will say sláinte.
And I might just have a little dram of whiskey here as well. So sláinte mhath, as we would say in Scotland, good health.
And then the last thing I will say is I have not busted into this, and I will not, because I was traumatized once as an assistant guide in the year 2002, I believe. We went to the Jameson distillery near Belfast, and only 2 tour members raised their hands to volunteer for the whiskey tasting because it was 9 a.m. So the assistant guide had to do it again. And so I've really not been able to stomach whiskey in the morning since then. But I just want to say, Charlie, you're doing a great job. We're enjoying this so much. And when you're ready, I will share the screen again.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That was a lovely little interlude. Really enjoyed that. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to have a wee bit of whiskey as well.
There's always time for whiskey.
Absolutely, well said. And may I say that having whiskey cream like Bailey's or a Scottish whiskey cream on your porridge at Christmas is the most decadent Christmas breakfast you can have. It's a really good one. Anyhow, now we have had all of our delicious refreshments, I think we're ready to do some socializing, which is so much easier considering in these places we all speak the same language. Here, a tour member is chatting with a beef eater in London, connecting with locals on a deeper level due to our shared language. And on the next slide, I'm actually standing next to Gilly McNabb, a brilliant piper who tells us wonderful stories of meeting the late Queen and being one of the early female pipers in a male-dominated world. She's been playing the pipes for over 57 years. So in our next slide, by visiting a country where English is so widely spoken, you can be taught skills and crafts by locals in detail. Here, Alake is being taught how to shear a sheep with hand shears. This is the old-fashioned way, and she's being taught by Neil Ross, a shepherd that we work with up in Scotland. But of course, when exploring cities in your free time, you'll also have the time to chat with taxi drivers, folks on the bus, or stall holders, like here at Borough Market. What a dream to chat with a Londoner whilst buying a piece of cake. Brilliant. Now, you may have noticed pubs feature as a hub of activity, live music, tasty food, and to have a drink. So these pillars of the community are also the best place to get chatting to locals, using the same language to share your travel highlights, stories from home, and understandings of the world. Nothing is off the table when we talk in the pub. We talk about everything from our politics to our families. And in our next slide, I am reminded that one of the most important travel opportunities is our shared time and conversations. And that connection with new friends offers a greater understanding of the incredible and diverse world that we live in. So in this final connection slide, you can see just how powerful that bond of friendship is after only a week of traveling together. This is from my group that I was with last week, and it really is magic what we create together. So, we have seen historic places, heard stories and music of the land and sea, raised glasses and met new friends. Let us reflect on the power of travel by getting closer to nature with some hikes and rambles. Our first slide is the Carrick-a-Reid Rope Bridge, located on Northern Ireland's County Antrim coast. It was originally built over 250 years ago by salmon fishermen to reach the island. Today, it stands as a dramatic symbol of local heritage and adventure, and it really is an exhilarating walk. Hopping back over to England, here we are now rambling in the Cotswolds, and it delights the senses. We wander through rolling emerald hills and honey-hued villages, and every walk can finish in a countryside pub for a swift half. Perfect. From ridgeline rambling to hiking in the Lake District National Park, where a boat journey takes us across Derwent Water and allows us to wander back into Keswick under the shadow of the surrounding fells of Cat Bells. And this experience, walking underneath Cat Bells, is also included on our Best of England tour. Now, our next walk is on the Scotland itineraries, hiking along the River Bran near Dunkeld in Perthshire. The Hermitage invites hikers to ancient Douglas fir forests and past cascading waterfalls. These very landscapes were captivated by J.M.W. Turner and also by the Wordsworths. They blended wild beauty with artistic inspiration. Now, perhaps you will be inspired if you visit this place to pen a line or do a little sketch. Another inspiring stop on our Best of Scotland tour is the Isle of Iona, where white sand beaches and turquoise waters resonate with the paintings of the early 20th century Scottish colourist painters. And it's also where I like to go for a wee duke or a wee dip in the sea. Now, it is a little bit chilly, but it's character building and a good thing to do. I have had one tour member do it with me. So not a huge number, but definitely something I can recommend. And for those of you who are enthralled by the coastal islands and coves, on your free day on the Best of Scotland tour, you can head out to Stafford to witness the caves said to have inspired parts of Mendelssohn's Hebrides Overture, and that was written in 1830. And between April and July, you might be lucky enough to meet some of these fantastically characterful birds. Our next slide shows us the puffins that also live on the Isle of Stafford. But make note of those dates. They normally arrive in April and head off in about mid to late July. So our time in our next slide, we're able to reflect that this time on the coach has taken us to many breathtaking spots, full of history, beauty, and the chance for shared learning. So may our feet continue to carry us up to magical viewpoints like this hike up Arthur's Seat in Edinburgh in the next slide. I feel a deep gratitude for the time and opportunities I have to travel. And with this final slide, I look into the horizon of tomorrow, where we stay humbled by this incredible world and we keep on traveling. Lisa, back over to you.
Thank you so much, Charlie. That was so well said that I'm honestly a little nervous to have to follow you, but it is my job as a Rick Steves staff employee to delve a little bit deeper into the itineraries. But I wanted to immediately say thank you for sharing your passions with us, because that was a beautiful overview of all of the excitement that people could see, whether they go to the Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland, Scotland, England, or Wales. So I will continue on. I will sally forth with the information. So we're
Thank
going
you.
to
It
talk.
was great.
You're very welcome. So we're going to talk about immediately the Best of England tour. And what sets this tour apart is it is our best 2-week survey of England with the blockbuster sites of London, Bath, and York, as well as the natural delights of the Lake District, the Cotswolds, and an all too brief stop in the castle-studded country of Wales. So we will start in Bath, which, as Charlie mentioned, has deep Roman roots. As a group, we visit the Roman Bath Museum, Aquae Sules, and then we see the Crescent, and mostly built in the 1700s during the Georgian era. We have very harmonious architecture, and except for the cars, I think you could imagine Jane Austen walking down this very street. We do a walking tour, imagining ourselves as Jane Austen. We do a walking tour around Bath, including going past the beautiful Bath Abbey. And then we leave Bath and we head north, looping up to the region of the Cotswolds, which is a 30 by 90 mile region of quintessential English countryside full of sheep and horses and thatched roof cottages, villages, and we go to a pub dinner at a countryside pub, and we are then serenaded by local musicians. One of the other activities that we do on the tour when we're in the Cotswolds is we do a countryside ramble. And one of the things that I think is so unique about Great Britain is that they have a mass trespass every year. They have a public right of way that is their birthright as citizens. And so they can go down any of these paths along farmers' fields. And we take part in that great tradition with, like I said, a countryside ramble. Now, we do stop for a few hours in Oxford town to see the university, a place where J.R.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis received their educations, before we head up to Wales, where we change only our language, not our currency. But you will hear people speaking Welsh, and then they will turn around and seamlessly speak to you in English. But it is a separate country, and we do visit it. And the first Welsh speaker that we meet on the tour is Gareth, and he is a shepherd, and he is going to talk to us about, obviously sheep herding and sheepdogs, but he's going to talk to us a lot about modern day farming in the UK. And it's these kinds of situations and local experts that help us understand what modern English people, or Welsh people, or excuse me, are living through these days. We sleep down the street from the Castle of Conwy in the town of Conwy, and while we are there, we visit Carnarvon Castle, which is famous because this is the giant slate circle where the previous Prince of Wales was invested by his mother here in the 1960s. And so we see this wonderful castle of Carnarvon, and we also visit Bodnet Gardens. So that's what we do in Wales, and then we head back into England and we head to the town of Keswick in the Lake District, and this is the heart of their English fell walking. Fell is English for hills. So this is a really beautiful example of this town that is sort of jolly old England meets REI, and so it becomes a beautiful mashup of the two. And then along our final bus ride, we go past Hadrian's Wall, which was the northern border of the Roman Empire. And then we go into the town of York with its fabulous minster or cathedral, and it has the largest expanse of medieval stained glass in the entire country of Great Britain. And it's also got still medieval ramparts, which are a lot of fun to walk in your free time. Now, I said it was our last bus ride because we say goodbye to our coach and we take a high-speed train from York to London. So we go that 200 miles in about an hour and 40 minutes. And we show up in London and our new bus picks us up to take us around town. And while we're in London, we visit the Tower of London. Here's the White Tower, built in 1076 by William the Conqueror. And it is our chance to see the crown jewels. Now, what is important for you to know is that the crown jewels do not allow any photographs. So I had to grab this photograph when King Charles and Queen Camilla were going by in a carriage, so to show you. But this is so interesting that this crown has just been used in the last few years for its original purpose. After we visit the Tower of London, we take a cruise along the Thames River and we go from Tower Bridge in our boat. There you see a picture of the boat along past some of London's most interesting modern architecture, including the Shard, which we see in this picture, which is one of Europe's tallest buildings. And then we go past some of my favorite buildings. And one of the things that I hold so dear to my heart is the English sense of humor. So here we have these modern buildings with funny nicknames called the Walkie-Talkie, which you can see in the foreground. Just to the left of it, you see the Gherkin. And gherkin is English for pickle. And then you have the cheese grater. And then I've never heard that they call the next one the lipstick tube, but I think that they should. And that cruise ends us up right here at the Houses of Parliament and the Big Ben, which is not the clock, not the tower, but the bell inside that tolls the hour. And around the corner, we visit Westminster Abbey, which has another example of beautiful fan vaulting, this Gothic architecture that I just find stunning. And as we say goodnight to London and we say goodnight to the Best of England tour, I want to remember the wow moments that we share on this tour as a group. And the wow moments are specifically coming from a report that my friend Robin ran for me. And it is literally somebody reads every single evaluation that comes into the company. When I'm not on tour, a lot of it is me. And so Robin compiled a report of the wow moments. So on the Best of England tour, the wow moments are meeting Gareth, the shepherd, and obviously watching him carry a sheep on his shoulders, and our time in York. So I'm going to give you the wow moments on all of the tours that we look at tonight. I mentioned earlier that we have a 1-week Best of London tour, which would be one of the choices that you would have if you won the giveaway at the end of next week. I have been on this tour 3 times as a tour member. That's how much I love this tour, and that's how much the City of London has to offer. So the last time I took this tour was last February. I took it with my daughter, Nora, which some of our longtime visitors know, and that's why you're going to see so many pictures of her tonight. But it's 1 week, the same hotel, so you really get settled in. And we have a welcome meeting on the first day. And we did so many fun and unique things with our week in London. One of them is taking a Route Master, the old traditional bus. We took a Route Master tour around the town, and I'm sure we ended up being in so many tourist photos because people were just like, oh, that's so wonderful looking. And we saw lots of highlights of the city. We go to St. Paul's Cathedral, which was designed by Sir Christopher Wren, and its tower sails above the city of London. And one of the things that I think is neat on the tour is that we have free time to climb the dome and go past the Whispering Gallery. Now, I don't have any pictures from the dome because I sent Nora up to do it while I had a cup of tea in the gift shop, but you guys would have the choice to make on your own whether to climb the dome or not. One of the other super cool things that we do is we go to an opening ceremony of the Tower of London. So for many years, independent travelers have been able to see the closing up ceremony. And if you've seen me do any of these talks on London before, you know that I've done that. But this was the first time I got to get up early and go with our group, and we went to see them open up the Tower of London. And that meant that we were the first in line to see the crown jewels as well. It was a very special experience. While we're in London, we have a chance for a cream tea or an afternoon tea. And then just as Charlie mentioned, you can put your jam on first and then the cream, or vice versa. And you can make your own choices. We had so much fun trying it both ways. And what we really decided is scones with clotted cream and jam are freaking delicious. So everyone should have them as much as possible, in my opinion. So we also visited the Globe Theater, and we had a tour around that with one of the conservators of the Globe Company. And we also did a food tour in East London. So We have the cheese sort of symbolizing the food. We did several different stops, and I found out that my sweet Nora, who has traditionally been a pretty picky eater, she likes lamb curry. So we got to enjoy that. And it was so much fun to try these different types of food. The guides beautifully tied in the history of the East End of London with the immigration patterns and with these delicious foods. And I just had some of our tour members that we traveled with. We had a really good time. But you can see that we're seeing sort of a off the beaten path neighborhood in London. So back towards the west of London, we visit the Cabinet War Rooms and the Churchill Museum. And this is from World War II. So during the Blitz, when they had to be underground for safety, they had the whole running of the government down here. Churchill had a bedroom. They had these maps and all of the phones. And then they just, after the war was over, they just locked it up and they opened it up again as a museum a couple decades later. And that's a really fun thing to see. The other thing I would like you to know about is the theater in London. So I had to take this picture because these are the two shows that we bought tickets to ahead of time. So Stranger Things and Hamilton. We knew we wanted to see those, so we bought those a couple months in advance, and they were very affordable. But the other thing that we did is we went and saw another play, and we bought that ticket the day of. So we went to the TKTS booth in Leicester Square, and we bought tickets to Wicked for 6 hours later, and we got a really, really good price on that. So I would say you should definitely check out the London Theatre.co.uk. Ruth Ann or someone will put the actual website in the chat feature. But you can book, you can see what's going on. They have a great little thing called Stars on Stage, which tells you if any of your favorite movie actors or TV actors are also going to be on stage, which is how I saw Bradley Cooper in The Elephant Man. I would highly recommend. So do that. If there's something you want to see, book it ahead of time. And if you're just open to seeing anything, you can go to the TKTS booth and buy the day of. And our wow moments on the tour for the 1-week city tour were Windsor Castle, which is still inhabited by the royal family. And we really enjoyed that quick day trip out. It's like 45 minutes from downtown London. And our tour guide took care of the tickets. And it was really a lot of fun. So moving on to our next itinerary, we're going to talk about the best of South England in 13 days. So it starts in Canterbury town, lovely medieval town. We visit the Canterbury Cathedral, which is so important. And then we head on to Dover. So here is the seaside town of Dover with the castle sort of looming over the city. One of the things I really appreciate about Dover Castle is that it's a really intact medieval castle. Because kings were always going from castle to castle and shoring up their power, all of their furniture and decorations were generally portable. So this is a really authentic look at what the inside of a castle looked like. And then it was also an important part of Operation Dynamo, which was the evacuation of Dunkirk, one of the largest military/civilian operations ever. Then we head down the coastline to the white chalky cliffs of the Seven Sisters. So this is actually more spectacular than the White Cliffs of Dover, and we have a chance to visit that before heading on to the maritime mecca of Portsmouth. This is the home base of the Royal Navy, as well as the historic dockyards where you have Admiral Lord Nelson and his flagship, the HMS Victory, and he was wounded on the decks of this ship during the Battle of Trafalgar. And you also have the remnants of the Mary Rose, which was a ship from the time of Henry VIII that got sunk in the harbor, and so they've raised it and they are restoring it as quickly as possible to keep it from degrading, so they're spraying wax on it, and it's a really interesting artifact that's quite large that you can visit. And then we loop up to the Salisbury Plain to see the most famous stone circle of all of the 300 plus stone circles that are in Great Britain. We see Stonehenge, and then we go through Dartmoor National Park and its famous wild ponies to Cornwall, the very western tip of England. And while we are in Cornwall, we go sort of Dock Martin. We sleep in Falmouth, but we visit whatever the guide's choice is, so you can sort of discover your own Port Isaac. And we visit St. Michael's Mount if the tide is low enough, and the guides always know when the tide is low enough, so we do that. And we make Cornish pasties. Now, the one thing I'm not showing you a picture of is Cornish music. Now, Cornwall is a Celtic corner of Great Britain, and we are lucky enough to have a live example of a Cornish song with us tonight. So, Charlie, have you warmed up your pipes?
I am ready to rock and roll. This is a song written by a man called Harry Glasson, and it's called Cornwall, My Home, and I'd like to share it with all of you. I stood on Cape Cornwall in the sun's evening glow, at June Hill at Newlyn, and watched the fishing fleets go. Watch the sheave wheels at Giver as they spun around, and I heard the men singing as they go underground. And no one will ever move me from this land until the Lord calls me to sit at his hand. For this is my Eden, and I'm not alone. For this is my Cornwall, and this is my home.
Mic drop. That was wonderful. So just to tell the audience a little bit about that song, Charlie sprung this on us today. I don't know if sprung this on us today, and she gave it to me in the rehearsal, and I just like had tears just pouring down my face, and I had chills, and I am so happy that she was willing to go out on a limb and sing it for you tonight. So thank you very much, Charlie. It is very, very much appreciated that you would put yourself out there and sing that gorgeous song. And Geever is where the tin mines is. So you said Geever and going underground, and that just felt very, very Cornwall to me.
Yeah, it's a song which really binds the heritage both of the religion of the region and also the working songs. So working in the mines, working on the boats, the fishermen, it blends those two together, and it's really powerful. And I'm really grateful I was able to share it with everybody this evening.
Thank you. Okay, now I have to go back to work again and talk about itinerary. So let's see, we are going to finish up the South England tour with, we end in Bath. So do we have Bath up on the thing? We wrap up Bath. Oh, goodness, I'm just sorry. We wrap up the South England tour in the picturesque town of Bath, which still has one of the only medieval covered market bridges left in Europe. So there's the Ponte Vecchio in Florence, but other than that, there are very, very few. So we're going to end in Bath, and then our wow moments for this tour include Tintagel, which Charlie talked about when she talked about the magic of Merlin and King Arthur, and the Canterbury Cathedral, where we started the South England tour, and we talk about the artisans who are restoring the cathedral. So we actually have a great tour with the artisans, and they talk about the stained glass, and that is one of the wow moments of the South England tour. Now, it is time for us to head north, and we're going to start with the Scotland tour. And the Scotland tour 13-day itinerary is our idea of the best 2 weeks that one can spend in Scotland, covering its highlands and its islands, and in between everything while we are searching for the cutest hairy Q. We start in Glasgow, which has shaken off its industrial past to become a hip, thriving, artistic city, full of locals absolutely friendly enough to encourage you to wade through their thick Glaswegian accents. So I have to make a joke, and Charlie knows that we both are really fond of people from Glasgow because they're just so charming, but their accents are thick and they know it, and they play it up a little bit. But we explore Glasgow's modern art scene and its local boy made good Charles Rennie Mackintosh, who did the most wonderful version of Art Nouveau. in Glasgow. And of course, your guide is going to point out places where you can catch live music in Glasgow, because Glasgow is known for its live music. So it's a great place to do that on your second night in town. Now we're going to head over to the Castle of the Stuart Kings. This is Stirling Castle, which just recently underwent a massive multi-million pound renovation. So you have a really great idea of what the interior of a medieval castle looks like. And then we head to our 3-night stop in Oban, which is our home base as we explore the island of Iona, where St. Columba introduced Christianity to Scotland in 563, and is a beautiful island. I want you to imagine the faith of the monks on this lonely island during a Scottish winter. So it's not all white sand beaches and blue water and Charlie doing a little dunk in. These people had to have a serious amount of faith to last through the wind whipping through those stones. We continue north to Glencoe, so we're now in the heart of the Highlands, and your guide will explain to you why Glencoe is known as the Weeping Valley. Before we go to Urquhart Castle on the banks of Loch Ness, and one of the things I think is really fun is that we leave the coach for just a little while and we actually take a boat from Urquhart Castle to our home base of Inverness. So we sleep in Inverness for the next 2 nights. And while we're in Inverness, we visit Culloden Battlefield, which Charlie mentioned. And it's just a field with some clan markers and monuments until you explore it with a guide and the really excellent museum with their fun docents and exhibits. So it really makes it come alive. And then we go east to the Cairngorms National Park, where we sleep on our Highland estate, which we tour with a park ranger. And then we meet Neil, our favorite shepherd. There are sheep demonstrations on a lot of these tours, but Neil is the man. He's my favorite. I think he's Charlie's favorite too. And we visit his cutest little employees. And all hopped up on puppy love, the hits just keep on coming as we take time for a wee dram of whiskey. And then after our group dinner this evening, we meet with a piper you met, Gilly. Could be Gilly, one of her friends, but we will learn to pipe like Rick does in his videos. Continuing south, we head to St. Andrews, Scotland's oldest university, and for a little bit of royal gossip, where Kate met William. And we go out to the birthplace of golf in St. Andrews at the Old Course. And this is Swilcan Bridge. And if you are a golf lover, you know exactly who poses on this bridge after every win. And then we head into Edinburgh, where we do a walking tour and we explore the castle, Edinburgh Castle. And then we raise a glass to our Scottish adventure. The wow moments from this tour include the things that include the island of Iona, and of course, our favorite shepherd and his sheepdogs. The last wow moment for this tour, because it was a tie between the sheepdogs and staying in seaside Oban. Now, if you don't have a full 2 weeks for Scotland and you want something a little bit more distilled like a good Scottish whiskey, we have the heart of Scotland in 8 days. And that starts in Inverness on the Ness River. It includes Cotter Castle with its beautiful gardens. We do plan on having a cream tea on this tour, and I hope that includes some lovely Scottish shortbread. We do on the Heart of Scotland tour do a little bit more artisan things. So we visit the Scottish woolen mills and we visit the Crannig Centre with its Iron Age villages. Then we have time for some hiking in the Hermitage, these beautiful falls, Black Lynn Falls that we visit. And then we go again to St. Andrews, and this is San Salvator's Chapel. And then we cross the Forth Railway Bridge and head into Edinburgh, where we stop for a few nights, and we do basically what we do on the full Scotland tour, the big Scotland tour, but we have a little bit more time there so people can dive into it a little bit more. And we do also the Palace of Holyrood House, which was the late Queen's residence while she was in Edinburgh. And people enjoy the 3 nights in Edinburgh and diving deeper. I know, Charlie, you and I were talking, and you said that your last group watched a rugby thing. Some people went to a comedy club. So they're really taking advantage of getting a little bit more time in Edinburgh. And of course, you have a bucket of puppies, and you can't beat a bucket of puppies. It's not possible. So moving across the Irish Sea to our last 2 tours, the Heart of Ireland in 7 days and the Best of Ireland in 14 days, we're going to start in Ennis, which is an easy trip from the Shannon Airport, which has direct flights from Chicago, New York, Boston. And while we're in Ennis for 1 night, we go out to the stunning 700-foot high Cliffs of Moher. And then we go down into Dingle town, and we have an action-packed time with live music, with meeting the glass cutter master, Sean Daly. And I'm going to stop the screen share for a minute because Sean was trained as a master in Waterford. And a few years ago, he sent us all these wonderful cut glass, cut crystal. They're paperweights, I guess, but they're inspired by the Gallerist Oratory, the Beehive Huts out on the peninsula of Dingle. And then he did a little design of our old tour patches. So some lucky people have these in their offices. So that's Sean Daly, and we do a crystal cutting demonstration with him. So I just had to show you that because I think it's really cool. So after we spend our time with Sean, we drive the Slayhead Drive. It's a 30-mile drive, and it will make you happy that you are on a tour and not driving it yourself, because everybody gets to relax and enjoy themselves and see the gorgeous scenery and not be stressed out about these narrow, winding roads on their own. And we see the peninsula, like I said, which has more sheep than humans. And we see the Gallerist Oratory, which inspired my cut glass. It was built 1,300 years ago and is an amazing example of a well-preserved early Christian church. Now, back in Dingletown, we stay in our cozy guest house, and Eric the falconer comes by, and he brings several birds with him, and we get to watch them take off and land on our arms or our tour buddies' arms. And then we leave Dingle and we head towards Dublin, but first we stop at a couple of places. So we stop at the Rock of Cashel, an early religious building. And then we head to Kilkenny, where we sleep in Kilkenny for 1 night. And Kilkenny is a beautiful example of a later castle. And the funny thing is people think that Ireland is just full of castles, but because of Oliver Cromwell destroying a lot of them, and the fact that there wasn't one Irish king, but different tribal kings, there aren't as many castles in Ireland as there are in Scotland or England. So we really enjoy seeing the interior of Kilkenny Castle. Before we head towards Dublin, we stop at Glendalough, an ancient monastic settlement. And then we head into Dublin. And while we're in Dublin, we do a walking tour, a historic Dublin walking tour. We walk past the GPO, the General Post Office, and your guide will explain why it's so important to Irish history. And then we will visit the Book of Kells at Trinity College, an important work of art. And when Thomas Cahill wrote that the Irish saved civilization, it was due to works such as this, and the Irish monks meticulously hand copying them and preserving ancient texts and therefore knowledge. And then, of course, one of the most beautiful Victorian era libraries that I've ever seen, also at Trinity College. And when we look back on our week with our new friends, our wow moments are the Cliffs of Moher and having a baby barn owl land on your glove. The last tour that we're going to talk about tonight is the Best of Ireland in 14 days, which includes both the Republic of Ireland and the North of Ireland, or Northern Ireland, I should say. We start with 2 nights in Dublin and still do a historic walking tour and the Book of Kells. But as we leave, we head to Kilmainham Jail. And this is one of the most important modern pieces of history for the Republic of Ireland. That's where political prisoners were held during their War of Independence, and 14 were executed on site. You'll have a guided tour through this site, but I encourage you to learn the song Grace before you go, because it will become very important while you are there. It will make your visit even more meaningful. And then from Dublin, we take a long drive. We do stop at the Rock of Cashel again, but we head to Kinsale, a maritime city, if ever there was one, where we stay for 2 nights. And we meet our friend Barry Maloney, who does a wonderful walking tour around Kinsale. And he's going to talk about the Charles Fort, which repelled the Spanish and English invaders, and he's going to talk about the story of the Lusitania, which sunk right off the coast of Kinsale. And he's also going to point out my favorite pub for sing-alongs, Kitty O'Shea's, and he's also going to point out several good restaurants, because Kinsale is known as the gourmet capital of Ireland. So on our way to Dingle town, we're going to pass another sheepdog demonstration. This one is in Kissane and is fun because all of the sheepdogs only respond to whistles and Irish accents. So it's a lot of a good time. During our 3 nights in Dingle, we have a night longer on this tour. We drive the sleigh head and we visit the Blasket Island Centre to see how people were living in islands off the coast of Ireland as late as the 1950s. And then we have a full free day. So if the Blasket Islands really whet your appetite, you can actually go out there, or you can take one of these rigid inflatable boats for nature watching, bird watching, dolphin watching, that sort of thing. Or you can take a hike along the ridge with views of the sea. Now, you'll also very likely want to spend some time in a pub, because Dingle has 52 pubs, one for every week of the year. And there's a vibe for every kind of person who wants to spend some time in a public house. And so it's a magnet for live music. There's plenty of live music. You'll find all kinds from traditional to modern. We are talking a lot about pubs on all of these tours, but we don't want you to think that that you necessarily have to be a big drinker. I mean, it is true that Guinness tastes better in Ireland than anywhere else. It doesn't travel as well off the island, but pub is short for public house. So kids are allowed and welcome. This is where the communities have been coming together for generations and generations. Before people had TVs, before we all stayed in our houses all the time because of lockdown, people were going to pubs to share community, to share stories, to have a chat. And my tip is, if you want to meet people, go and stand at the bar, because that sort of says, I'm open to chatting. Whereas if you go and sit at a table in the corner, nobody's going to walk up and disturb you. But people are there for the socialization. You don't need to be a drinker to enjoy the pub. You can have soft drinks or whatever you like. So it's just something that Charlie and I wanted to clarify for you. Leaving Dingle, we go along the Wild Atlantic Way, heading north. Again, we go to Galway for 2 nights, and while we're in Galway, we take a boat out to the Aran Islands, and we go to the island of Inishmore. And while we are there, you have a free day. You can do what you want. Your guide's going to go with a minibus. If you want to take a pony and a cart, you can do that. If you want to rent bikes, you can do that. But you might want to go out to the Iron Age fort of Dunangus, and the sister cliffs of the Cliffs of Moher is here. And so it's really absolutely stunning. And the guide will tell you when to meet back at the boat back at the dock for the boat back to Galway. And that's one of the things that's really nice about our tours, is that our guides are not selling optional excursions. They're not getting kickbacks. All of the tips are included for the guide and the driver. So you don't need to worry about that at all. The guide is on your side, making sure that you're having a good time. We're going to head north to Northern Ireland. We're going to change currencies and we're going to change countries. And as of this year, you need an ETA. So the tour department will help you with that information. They'll give you the website. It's £16 and it's good for a couple years, but you do need to get a travel visa waiver to go to Northern Ireland. And then you'll see the political murals from the Troubles or the more modern murals from the fantastically successful show of Derry Girls. We take a guided tour through Derry with a local, and then we go to the Giant's Causeway, which Charlie has mentioned, but is worth mentioning again, the wonderful basalt columns. And then we go to the Carricker Reed Rope Bridge, where on a good day, you can see Scotland across the water. And then we end with our time in the capital of Northern Ireland in Belfast, and we'll visit the Titanic visitor experience because the Titanic was built at the Harland and Wolff shipyard just hundreds of yards away. And we will also do a walking tour in Belfast. And then we gather to say goodbye to our newly made friends. Plenty of memories on this itinerary, and the ones that stuck out as the most magical were the time in Dingle and the Giant's Causeway. So that is the itineraries that we have for this evening. We're going to invite Gabe back to take over the ship for a minute, and we'll be back for the Q&A after Gabe talks to us.
Lisa and Charlie, I feel windswept. I feel like I was just on the British Isles, and also the amount that you covered in just the past hour was astonishing. So thank you very much for that presentation. We have some great questions for you in our Q&A. Before we get to that, I'm going to take 30 seconds to remind people of a few things in case they missed our opening announcement. As Lisa said, you could win a one-week tour to London, or Paris, or Rome, or Istanbul by entering our city tour giveaway. The link to enter is in the chat. And everybody has the opportunity to get $100 off of one of our newly released 2026 itineraries. They just need to go to the website, and that early booking discount will be automatically applied at checkout through July 7th. And if that presentation was so inspirational, you feel like you need to get going ASAP, we do have plenty of 2025 itineraries, including ones in the British Isles, on sale. This page here, you see some Italy ones, but this is to highlight that we also have discounted tours that you can find on our website. And of course, this is just night 3 of 9. And so if you're interested in any other regions, we have lots of upcoming shows for you. But for now, we have some great questions from our audience. I'm going to start with a few questions about kind of nuts and bolts logistics, and then pick your brains about some more kind of destination and activity tips. So our first question comes from Kim. You mentioned a few times how, because of the intricacies of Ireland versus Northern Ireland versus Great Britain, people will kind of be passing in and out of the Eurozone and between currencies. Do you recommend that people get the local currency, or can they primarily get by with credit cards in the British Isles? What are your money tips for the British Isles?
May I, Charlie?
Absolutely. Yeah, dive in.
Okay, so the 2-week Ireland tour is the only one where you're changing currencies per se, and you definitely don't need any British pounds before you go to Northern Ireland. The guide knows that everybody needs cash, and they will take you either to an ATM, or they'll point it out with the one that's closest to the hotel, so you can easily get a little bit of pounds by yourself. We do still use a lot of cash in the places that we're talking about, especially in pubs. Now, you can use your credit card for everything, but I just think it's a little bit better, classier, if you will, if you do have some local money that you're spending, especially at pubs. So I don't get any ahead of time. I just get there and go to the ATM because that's the best exchange rate you can get. Charlie, if you have anything you want to add, please feel free.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm getting cash out over here. I always recommend the Bank of Scotland when I'm up in Scotland, or the Royal Bank of Scotland. Those are two good ones if you're up there. Just a bit of the complexities of the Scottish currency. So it is still Great British pounds, but there are three banks in Scotland that print the Great British pound. So they look a little bit different to the Bank of England cash. Therefore, when you bring it south of the border, the Scottish English border, sometimes if you've got maybe a teenager working in a cafe, they just might not have seen a Scottish note before. So it's not that you're not allowed to spend it in England or in Wales or in Northern Ireland. It's just people aren't necessarily familiar with it. So folks often switch their Scottish pounds for English pounds when they come south, not because they have to, but just because it's a bit more convenient.
I would also like to add that one of the things that we're talking about when we're talking about money is the tipping culture. So you don't tip in pubs unless you're served food. But of all of the countries that I travel in Europe, England and Scotland have the highest percentage of tipping. So you tip 10 or 12% on meals when you're in Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales, England. And then when you're in the Republic of Ireland, I feel like it's a little bit less, but for Americans, it's a little bit more comfortable to overtip rather than to undertip. But that's just something that I know a lot of people ask about. And maybe I jumped the gun, but since we were talking about money, I like people to know that. And what I hate when I am guiding is for people to say, oh, I've been tipping 20% since I got here. And if I'd known, I could have saved some money. So I'm here to tell you that 20% is way too much.
And Lisa, can I jump in and say one more thing after that? And that's that very often in pubs and restaurants today, there may well be, if you've ordered a meal, your tip already included on the check, on the bill. So you won't need to both pay your check and leave a cash tip. It's typically included already. And you can ask for it to be increased or decreased or removed altogether. But that's just a heads up that typically these days it is already included on the tab.
Nice. Thank you.
Thank you both. And this is one thing that I love, that our guides are first and foremost teachers. And when you're in these destinations, the guides aren't just teaching you about the history and the art, but they're teaching you about even just these nuts and bolts kind of logistical aspects of tipping and the local transportation. And they're trying to help you become expert travelers yourselves. So thank you both for that. Charlie, I'll give this question to you. This one comes from Mark. I think Great Britain and Ireland, oftentimes you were just talking about meals. I often think bangers and mash, or these hearty Cornish pasties and a lot of meat and breads. How do you on tour accommodate dietary restrictions? For example, if somebody is gluten-free or vegetarian?
So I'm actually gluten-free and pescatarian. So
Oh.
first of all, I'm more of a problem than anybody on tour, which is great. On tour, all of our suppliers and restaurants are fantastic. And typically, wherever you go, there's either a special menu for people who have dietary restrictions, or you can ask and they'll speak to the chef and make something up fresh for you. So the restaurants and pubs, they're so flexible today because it really is something that affects so many people that it makes absolute sense for them to be offering all the options for everybody. So you don't come across issues, I would say. Something like nut allergies and things like that, they're dietary but also health. They can make you poorly, so it's important that you flag those just for your health and safety really as well. But whenever you go somewhere, as long as you speak to the staff about your restrictions, then they should be able to accommodate.
And it's also something that we ask tour members as they sign up to say, what is your dietary restriction, so that the guide is aware of them for the group meals as well.
Yes, and it's really useful to have that information in advance so we can make sure everybody has something that will tick their box and fill their belly.
Thank you very much, Charlie. Lisa, I'm kind of grouping together a collection of questions for you because I know that this is something that you deal with both as a guide and in your work here at the office. We had a few people that were asking about whether they would be able to see specific sites in their free time. So we had Grant wondering, oh, can I get to Buckingham Palace? Susan was wondering, will I have time to go to the Globe Theatre in London? Wendy wanted to know, can I go to the Clava Cairns in Ireland? I guess, how can people know whether they're going to have time in the tour itinerary? And if they do have time, where can they find the information for how to make these reservations?
This is something that is very exciting for 2026 because we are going to be giving people the option to order their tour kits with their Rick Steves guidebook 35 days after they sign up. So 30 days, your deposit becomes non-refundable. 5 days after that, you can order your tour kit. So it helps people plan a lot further in advance. So that's really important. And the other thing they can do is they can send us an email or call us. It it is a struggle because as a company, we give our guides, myself, Charlie, a lot of latitude to be able to customize the tour for their exact circumstances, days of the week, weather, just general interest. So we don't want our tours to be necessarily formulaic, but people want to plan their free time. So we do try and strike that delicate balance between the two. So we do put the itineraries on the website so they can glean some information from that. But if there's something that they really specifically want to know that is not being answered, we have a group of 20 people like Divya and Ruth Ann. All of the people that work in our customer experience team are travelers and or tour guides. So we really walk our walk. And so you can find information from us. So give us a call, send us an email. The answer to your specific questions is Buckingham Palace is only open to the public in August and September. Clava Cairns is not in Ireland, it's in Scotland and it's near Inverness, and it would be very difficult to get to on your free time unless you hire a taxi. And what was the third thing? The Globe Theatre?
Well,
Yes, you can easily do that in your free time on our London tour. The Best of England tour would work as well.
Lisa, you never fail to impress me. You're like a walking guidebook yourself. I guess that's why you're a guide. All right. Charlie, another question for you. Bob is wondering, are there any opportunities? We talked a little bit about live music in Ireland, but in Wales, I know that there's a strong choral tradition there, especially. Do you have any ideas for people that are maybe interested in seeing some choral performance or other music in Wales?
So I think Lisa and I were talking about this, and Lisa, remind me, how much free time do we have whilst we're in Wales?
So we have a group dinner on the first night usually, and then we have a free evening. It depends on the day of the week that your tour is there because the traditionally male choirs sing usually on one night a week, and then that can be open to the public because it's usually in a church or a rec hall or something. But then often they'll go to the pubs afterwards, and the public are more than welcome to buy them a drink and see if they'll sing for their supper. So usually it works out pretty well.
And I would also say if people want choral music, if you're going on one of the tours to York, I studied abroad in York and they have a beautiful evensong. I know there's many evensongs throughout the British Isles, but I highly recommend the one in the Minster. And
Absolutely right.
we have time for just one more question, Lisa and Charlie. This one is from Gabe. I want to know for each of you on any itinerary across the British Isles, what is your wow moment, not necessarily as a traveler yourself, but as a guide? I know so often for teachers, it's really satisfying to see a light bulb go off for a traveler or to kind of experience something vicariously through somebody that's seeing it for the first time. So, as a guide, what is maybe your wow moment with your tour members and watching them experience something?
Charlie, will
Lisa,
you
do
go
you,
first?
yeah, do you mind if I jump in? So we visit on the Best of Scotland tour. That's the longer one, the Rothiemurchus estate. And when we're there for the whole day. And we get to understand how a traditional estate, which has been in the hands of a family for over hundreds of years, we get to understand how it's had to diversify to survive, how it's had to find other commercial incomes. So traditionally, the Highland estates, they were viable with hunting, shooting, and fishing. But today they've got off-roading, they've got the falconry experience, they've got incredible visits to do and wee shops. And it's a really wonderful sense of a community pulling together to ensure that their jobs continue in the region and the region flourishes as well. And it's a really beautiful opportunity to speak to those locals and better understand the sort of multidisciplinary approach to making these areas not suffer from a brain drain effect where the younger people all just move and leave and move away because they don't have opportunities, but it gives that younger generation opportunities to stay and make that community stronger in the future. And that's magical.
Ooh,
Oh,
now I want to go to one of those. That sounds fantastic. I'd love to pop by some wee shops.
Oh, it's so great. And we also have a lunch on the estate and everything's sourced from the estate. So it's, very farm to fork. It's a divine experience. So that's when some magical light bulbs come on and hearts also glow.
Thank you, Charlie. And Lisa?
well, my magic moment is actually St. Paul's Cathedral in London. I am a big history nerd. It's no surprise that I'm a tour guide because I love it so much. But walking through the oldest part of London, through the oldest streets, and then seeing St. Paul's Dome and hearing with my local guide talking about the Blitz and how much Hitler wanted to destroy the dome of St. Paul's and using the River Thames as a silver ribbon to guide him there, and the bravery of the volunteers who had ropes tied around their waists and they had buckets with sticks, and the Luftwaffe would drop their sticky bombs and the volunteers would rappel down and scrape them away as fast as possible to save that dome. It does not fail to get me choked up every time at the people's bravery.
Well, thank you so much, Lisa and Charlie, for those vivid descriptions. And I appreciate the joy that all of our guides have, not just for their destinations, but the joy that they have for teaching people. And you two have both exemplified that in the past hour and in all the work you do. So I hope, dear viewers, that you all have the chance to tour with Lisa or Charlie or one of our other many excellent guides soon. For now, though, I'm going to say goodbye to the two of you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, everybody. Great to have you.
And for the rest of you, I'm just going to give you one final reminder that we are still at the beginning of our Festival of Tours. We have many more great nights to come. You can register for the upcoming shows at ricksteves.com. The link is in the chat. I will leave this schedule up here if you want to think for a little bit about what other sessions you might like to join us for over the next week and a half. But we thank you for taking time to join us tonight, and we wish you a wonderful evening and happy travels.